Have you ever been so focused on a task that time seemed to fly by and you were completely in the zone? If so, you were in a flow state. Flow is a mental state of low effort, high concentration, high enjoyment. But what is it about flow state that makes it so desirable? How can we achieve it more often? And what is the neuroscience of it? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Sid Warrior. I'm a neurologist and today we will explore the neuroscience of flow state. Let's go. Flow is a mental state where someone becomes completely immersed in their activity. It is a feeling of effortless concentration, high enjoyment, and being completely present in the moment. It was described by a Hungarian-American psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote a book called Flow. In the book, he had several interviews of people who have experienced this state, where they described their experience as being like water, where they were just flowing with the circumstances. Of course, the essential concept has been around for centuries under different names, and they all refer to the same basic principle of being in the moment, being present, and losing oneself in the activity at hand. One recent example of flow being depicted on the main screen is a Pixar movie called Soul, where the main character Joe is transported into another world where he's playing the piano and he discovers what is known as the zone. Now let's understand flow from a neuroscience perspective. What happens in the brain when somebody is in that state? In an article published in the journal Neuropsychology, it was found that people in flow state have an increased activity in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is the evolved part of the brain. This suggests that flow state would lead to an increased ability to think and make decisions in the moment. But there was also reduced activity in the self-referential parts of the brain. This is known as the default mode network, and it is in the midline of the brain. This is the part of the brain that gets activated when we start daydreaming or we start thinking about ourselves in reference to our environment. When you are in flow state, you don't think about yourself that much because your attention is completely focused on what you are doing, not who you are. In 2021, an article was published that discussed the involvement of locus coeruleus and the norepinephrine system. We'll call it LCNS. These cells release a chemical called norepinephrine, which is a neurotransmitter. Norepinephrine acts like a switch that turns on the brain and makes it more active. One of the ways in which the locus coeruleus norepinephrine system helps us get into a state of flow is by turning a switch on and off during periods of exploration and disengagement. So when we find something new or interesting and we get into the exploratory phase, the norepinephrine switch turns on. Now we are more excited, we are more alert, and we are able to focus better. But gradually we find the need to relax, to switch off, to disengage, and that is when the norepinephrine switch turns off. Another unique aspect of this system is that it works in a phasic manner, which means that it turns on and off in a cycle. You may have noticed that you cannot maintain focus for an infinite amount of time. Eventually, gradually, your mind will get diverted towards other things. The reason for this is the norepinephrine system. ये जानना ज़रूरी है क्योंकि जब भी हम फोकस करते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम के लिए, नॉरएपिनेफ्रिन सिस्टम ऑन तो होता है बट हमेशा के लिए ऑन नहीं रह सकता, तो थोड़ी देर के बाद वो अपने आप ऑफ हो जाता है और हमारा अटेंशन स्विच हो जाता है. दिस ऑन एंड ऑफ seesaw allows us to fine tune our arousal and our attention. This is how the brain learns how to maintain that delicate balance of attention and relaxation. And this is the concept of flow. Imagine you are working on a puzzle, like a jigsaw or a Rubik's Cube. You cannot focus for infinite amounts of time, and so our brain will pick patterns for a while, detach, look at something else, and then come back and focus again. It's like the brain has figured out that because we don't have infinite energy, we also cannot spend infinite energy on a particular problem. There are a few indicators to the system, and one of the interesting findings of this study was how our eye movement and our pupil diameter can be a reflection of how much attention we are paying. जब आप फ्लो में होते हो तो आपका प्यूपिल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करता है और एक ही चीज पे फोकस करता है, बट जैसे ही आप डिसएंगेज होते हो और आप डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो जाते हो, प्यूपिल्स बिकम डायलेटेड एंड नाउ वी आर टेकिंग इन मोर इन्फॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम आवर एनवायरनमेंट. You may have noticed how when you're focusing you can only see one thing, like the proverbial eye of the fish when Arjun was aiming at it. But as soon as you're distracted, now you can see all the background and all the things around you. This is your brain literally zooming in and zooming out because of the norepinephrine effect. Our flow state has an inverted U shape in correspondence with the arousal. Imagine you are not alert at all. This is when you are asleep. as your alertness goes on increasing, your level of performance also goes on increasing until there is one level of optimum performance where your actions and your attention are equally balanced. As your alertness goes on increasing more and more, now the performance actually falls because now your attention is all over the place. You have too much attention to give, and that is when you become distracted, and that can lead to anxiety or even panic. And this is the responsibility of the norepinephrine system, to keep you in that optimum zone where you are not so bored and you are not too anxious. And if you remember, the norepinephrine system is a phasic response. It is literally as if your brain is trying to balance itself on top of a ball, and each movement can take you too much to one side or too much to the other side, and gradually it has to figure out how to maintain that small little wobble so that your brain remains in focus. Now that you know what flow state is, let's talk about how can you get into it. One of the first things to do is to pick activities that are challenging but not too difficult. Remember that the sweet spot is failure once every 3 to 4 attempts. Imagine if you're playing a game and every round, every challenge you are able to cross without any difficulty at all. If all of your opponents are killed very easily, if all the puzzles are solved in the first attempt, what would happen? Very soon you'll get bored and you will stop playing the game. But on the other hand, what if every attempt leads to failure? What if you're not able to kill even one enemy? What if you're not able to solve even one puzzle? You will get frustrated and again you will end the game. So the trick is for you to find your right level of challenging game. And as soon as you find that, you will find your brain is automatically now interested, motivated, and will keep on trying to overcome that challenge. So the real challenge of motivation or being in flow is not about building your own self-discipline or writing motivational quotes on the wall. It is actually fine-tuning your challenge. Find the challenge that is right for you and you will grow. Now this is a concept that is so easily understood in the gym. Anybody who goes to the gym would not pick up 300 kgs on their first day. They will start off with 5, 10, 15, 20, gradually build up, which is known as progressive overload. And they will increase the number of repetitions, they will increase the number of sets, but they know that each challenge has to be just the right amount of more challenging than the previous time you exercised. This is the same concept that applies to the brain as well, but for some reason, we don't really apply it. Now is the time to start. In his book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about this as the Goldilocks zone, which is the optimum level between boredom and frustration. And that is the same concept as flow. The second thing we should be doing is to immerse ourselves in the activity, and that means removing distractions. For the time that you want to be in flow, make sure that your email notifications are switched off, your phone is on silent, and for that much time, you are giving your brain a chance to discover flow. Because what happens is that as soon as there is a ping, there's a notification, there's a call, your brain will shift its attention, its precious attentional resources away from the task towards something else. And now that will become the main task for it to focus on. Why do that to your brain? And finally, you need to discover activities that you like. There is no point in trying to become someone that you are not and trying to find activities that other people enjoy doing. At some level, your personality, your own likes and dislikes will play a huge role in motivation and you finding your state of flow. So discover that, chase that, and become better and better at it. Now that you've decided to get into flow, here's another very important thing for you to know. Imagine having a flow state combined with a great memory that would do wonders to your performance. So here's a video that I have made on how to improve memory. Check this out right over here. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for your interest in neuroscience. Take care.